Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Live to Roll channel. I am your host for the day, Brianna Wheeler. We are back with another women's disability show. Today's topic is going to be about dealing with addiction and spinal cord injury, which is such an important topic to talk about. We have three lovely guests on today. I can't wait to hear their story. I'm so excited to dive in and to share about some important topics. If you guys have any questions at all during the live, please put them in the chat box for us and we'll be going through them along the way. Let's get started. Let's start with introduction. So my name is Brianna. I was injured 5 years ago after I was shot, and I am a T12 through L5. Let's go to Maya next.
Hey guys, glad to be back here. This is a super important topic, so I'm really excited to touch on it today. I am Maya, and I am a C5, C6 quad. I got injured due to gun violence, and I have been injured for 3 years.
Thank you. Let's go to Bentli.
I'm Bentli. I'm very happy to be here again. I am also a victim of gun violence. I am an L2 partial L3 incomplete injury.
Thank you. I didn't even realize there was three of us. Let's go to Brittany.
Hi guys, I'm Brittany. I am a T12 incomplete para. I got my injury due to drinking and driving and under prescription medications. Since then, I am Miss Wheelchair Maryland 2021, and my platform is on substance abuse in and out of the disability community. I also do a lot of advocacy and also heavily involved in my community. I started a nonprofit with a few of my friends to open a facility to have all 12-step recovery.
Thank you so much. That was a great introduction. I need to get better at them. Every single time I act like it's my first time saying it. I'm like, Okay, so we are gonna get into some tough questions and some hard topics. If you guys want to stop at any time or you guys want to skip, just let me know. I know you guys are all pretty open, but just let me know. Okay, so our first question is, when did you start using and when did it get out of control and how long have you been in recovery? So let's go to Maya first.
Okay, let's get into it. So I started using at the age of 14. My drug of choice was methamphetamines. Street words, meth. And it started getting out of control when I was like 15 or 16. That's when I just stopped going to school, started dating a guy that was way too old for me. And that's when I got into the criminal lifestyle of doing drugs. I was stealing cars. I was constantly in jail, constantly in juvenile hall on probation. Probation was only supposed to be a year for me, and I ended up being on probation for almost 5 years, because I was just continuously, in the cycle of addiction, and I didn't care about my life, so it was definitely out of control around that time.
Mm-hmm. And how long have you been in recovery?
Okay, yeah, forgot the second part, huh? I've been in recovery now for 3 years. So my life day is also my clean date from methamphetamines, or my sober date, because I smoke weed, so yeah. Not clean, sober.
We got it. Okay, let's go to Bentli. What about you, girl? When did you start using and when did it get out of control and how long have you been into recovery?
Well, I've always been a little party girl. I have used recreationally since a very young age. It actually is very, very similar to Maya's story. The parallel situations are bizarre. I as well was I was 14, a little bit older, but I was a heavy meth user from 14 to 16, and I got clean off of meth. My best friend went to prison and all kinds of things. And I was also dating a guy that was much older than me. And after we broke up, I started bartending and got into the bar lifestyle. And there's a lot of recreational use with that kind of snowballs. And after I was injured, I didn't drink for over 4 years. And once I kind of got acclimated back to my version of reality again, I moved out on my own and kind of started over all over again. And unfortunately, my best friend passed away in December of 2018 unexpectedly, and I didn't handle it well at all. And after her death, I spiraled completely. 2019 and 2020 were my rock bottom personally. I went to jail. I got a DWI, a police assault charge, resisting arrest, all kinds of crazy things. And I have officially been in recovery on November 7th. That will be a year.
Wow,
So I'm pretty excited.
congratulations. Love it.
Thank
Okay,
you.
let's go to Brittany.
So before, after being in the program for a little bit, I started using before I used drugs. I was like 9 or 10 when I started smoking cigarettes, hiding them and stashing them. And then I was I want to say about 11 or 12 before I started smoking weed. And I actually, the first time I smoked weed, it was with my cousin, and he had laced it with PCP. So that was a little bit of a different kind of experience that I didn't think that I was going to have. But, I smoked crack at 15. I was drinking at like 22 after I ended up a pretty bad relationship with my two older children's father. I started picking up drinking, and so my 20s were pretty heavy in use of alcohol. But then I found my favorite drug of all, and that was pills. And I was on pills for a good bit, and then I actually was working in the bar. I can relate to Bentli. I can relate to Maya. I was a cocktail server for like 15 years. And I was bartending on St. Patrick's Day of 2018. And, the patrons there, they get to keep their bottles. So they're like, go ahead, drink after, blah, blah, blah. And of course, an addict like me, I decided to drink. And I was actually on a 5-day pill binge too. And I had like 3 hours worth of sleep. So I left my work and I was driving through town. I blinked my eyes, and then I was in a embank. I was down over railroad tracks, down like a 6-foot embankment, and I broke my spine. But that didn't stop me. That actually gave me that golden prescription ticket, because now I don't have to buy it off the streets. So, but it got really bad because all the guilt and shame for what I did. And my youngest, I have 3 children, so my youngest was 8 months at the time, and I was a functioning addict and alcoholic. I had my car, had my kids, had my house. If I wrecked anything, I would get it again. I was functioning to my knowledge, but it really was a disaster. So my clean date is actually the day before my 1-year anniversary in my wheelchair. And I've been in recovery since then. So March 16th of 2019, March 16th, 2019. So I'll have 3 years if I make it to March. But that was really my bottom, was my spiritual bottom, because I was going down to Florida, trying to celebrate my life that I just escaped death yet again. And I'm sitting there completely miserable and disgusted with myself. So I went down to Florida, and I was able to celebrate my life day, but I was detoxed through that whole time, and I actually felt my paralysis for the first time. So it's been a journey, but so I'll
Yeah,
be
definitely,
3 years.
definitely.
Yeah, so I'll be almost 3 years. I'll be 3 years in March.
Woohoo! That's so cool. Okay, let's see. Where are we going next with this? So Maya, so you did say that you got sober after you got injured. So what was like that? So your injury was your bottom for you, would you say?
Yeah, definitely. And just to give you a little bit more context, I had gotten clean. I had finally gotten off of probation after 4 or 5 years of being on probation and struggling with addiction. I was clean for about 17 months. My boyfriend at the time, the guy who was way too much older for me, he ended up relapsing. And, I was just trying to be like the good girlfriend, get him back on track for about 10 months. And I found out that he got another girl pregnant, cheated on me, and I wasn't strong enough in my recovery to handle that. So I went right back to using. And 2 months later is when I got kidnapped and got shot. So that was definitely my bottom for me, going back after being clean for 17 months and just ending up as a quadriplegic afterwards. You know, I did struggle with addiction early on, like when I was in the hospital with medication. And I feel like a lot of that had to do with like the depression that came in the beginning that I didn't allow myself to feel. Or I didn't want to feel, so I self medicated again, but in a legal way this time.
Yeah.
Um, yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, so sorry. You actually didn't. You had you used your injury to fuel your addiction. Is that correct?
In a sense, uh, whenever I was first injured, I think there's a difference between dependency and addiction. And whenever I was first injured, I was most certainly dependent on pharmaceuticals, and that's why I say, I didn't drink for 4 years, but I was on so many opioids and such a heavy amount of narcotics that it didn't really matter. I was using heavier with the opioids than I was with the drinking, and I I would say that, I got away with a lot more in my injury. Whenever my addictions took over, it was alcohol was my vice most recently, and it brought on a lot of other things, and people love to watch the shit show and me misbehave, and I just kind of ate up the attention, and for the most part, I don't remember a lot of it. I was blacked out like the vast majority of what I was doing. So, I mean, for certain things, I would say, yeah, my injury kind of fueled my addiction, but I was an addictive person before I was injured,
Mhm.
so it's a little bit of both.
Yeah, definitely. And then what do you feel like your actual bottom was and your motivation to get sober?
I tried to kill myself last year. Actually, I was struggling, and I was drinking a pint to a fifth of vodka every single day. All of 2020, I was drunk essentially the whole time. And I had old prescriptions, and I had taken a bunch of them. And because I got lucky and divine intervention had taken place, I got violently ill instead of passing away. And I still have a super sensitivity to morphine and opioids now. I can only have very minimal amounts. So I guess it was a good thing that I got sick, but that was my defining moment because I even went to jail, and it took me
Mhm.
over a year to stop even after that. And I was on probation and all of those things, but it was during the pandemic, so I never had to actually physically check in. I would be hammered talking to my probation officer, and I got much worse before I got better.
Mhm. Yeah, wow, how crazy. That's so powerful. And how about you, Brittany? It took you a whole year after your injury to get sober. So, right afterwards, do you feel like you used your injury as fuel for your addiction, or what was your mindset? You had a reason now. Where did you go with that?
So like I mean, everybody's stories, it hits home for me because I went through the jail, I went through mental hospitals. I tried to kill myself the year that I did get injured. It was about, probably want to say, like 7 or 8 months after I got injured. So like the good thing is I have a good amount of family in recovery, and my mom at the time, my mom and my stepdad, they live in Maryland, and I was living in Virginia. And my mom came to the hospital after I tried to kill myself, and she's like, what are you going to do? Like, when my family's sitting there looking at me like, what is your plan? Like, are you trying to kill yourself? Are you trying to die? Like, what do we need to do? I finally just decided to come over to Maryland and start going to 12-step recovery. Because I've been around the 12-step recovery since I was 11, 12 years old. So I kind of knew where to go. And through my first year of my injury, I would go to the meetings, but then I'd be slumped in my chair or I'd be passed out. I haven't touched alcohol since the night of my injury, but getting into this 12-step recovery, we work steps, and the steps that I've been working, like I've started to realize, like I was using because I was pained up and I had a lot of trauma from my past, being sexually assaulted, being molested, going through a lot of family trials and tribulations, bad, poor relationships, abusive relationships, feeling like meaningless, nothing. And then on top of it, now I have a disability. And now I can't provide for my children the way that I used to. And now I feel low because who's going to want me in a chair? And, all of these things that I didn't have any self-worth. And, when the last day that I used, I was actually about to go on the plane to Florida, but I was knotted out, and my mom came downstairs and found me. And I've stuck by my mom through her recovery through a lot, and there's been a lot of issues through that. But when she looked at me and was like, "If you make it back, and if you want to do something, then maybe we'll see." And that kind of hit me. And then while I'm down there, I'm detoxing. So I'm feeling my paralysis for my first time. And I'm like, I don't know if I can do this. I don't know if I can do this without narcotics. I don't know if I can live like having this buzzing, tingling, pain, burning all the time. Like, I don't know. But, I stuck it through, and I've been sticking it through, and it's been hard. Like that dilemma of my disability and my pain, and then my recovery head is like, I know I can't use narcotics. If I put one in me, I'm done. I will use the whole prescription in less than a week. And then I'll be asking for more, or I'll be doing something reckless. I've worked way too hard. I've worked way too hard for me to go back. There's been situations where I have family that are still alcoholics and addicts, and like I'm trying to balance my personal boundaries because of me being an addict still. Like, I used because I was happy, I used because I was sad, I used because I was hurt, I used because I was mad. It didn't matter any of the situations that I was in. I needed something to make me feel different. And so like my injury really, it gave me a platform. Like, I really am happy that I am a paraplegic woman, because it gave me a new life. It gave me a new community of people. And like, I just wanted to do something different, and me opening my mouth and being honest about how I got in my chair, because pretty girl in a chair, they're like, "Oh, what happened to you?" And I could say a million things, but really I just say, well, I was drinking and driving on a 5-day pill binge, and I broke my spine. And you either get the shock because nobody wants to talk about that stuff, or you get the, that's great, that's amazing, or you touch somebody. So like, my chair, my disability has actually been a fuel to help me stay sober and clean, because of all of the things that I've put myself involved in, that I'm now being able to help other people by just my story.
I love that so much. I think that is so powerful and giving me so much chills as well. I never really suffered with addiction hard in drugs, but I grew up with addicts. My whole family is addicts. I went through the program, Salvation Army, endless rehabs with my parents, with my mom, and like had to deal with that. And she's 13 years sober now, and my dad just barely got sober when I got injured, after I got injured. And it's just crazy how it's kind of like a cycle to watch, and after I got injured, how it was kind of like in my blood to just numb the pain, and you have to fight against that. And people don't realize how hard it is to have that family cycle and not have it. It's just like either or you don't know that fight, whether it's against alcohol or not. Because of course, abusing alcohol was so common, as teenager and 20s, and you kind of feel like, well, I'm not super out of control like they are, so I'm fine, and it kind of grounds yourself, but that's not the reality. And I think after you get injured, people have a choice. You can either use it as a reason to be angry and give up on life, or to be like, wow, I have a chance to be different, and to do something different with my life. So I think that's super powerful. um okay, so let's go to Maya. How has your addiction affected your relationship with your family, and how did they react after your injury? So you said that you went from being sober and then you went on that binge and then you got injured. So what was their reaction? Were they with you through that whole sobriety, or what was that like?
So, throughout my addiction, I was the one that was like running away from my family. My family was always trying to reach out to me, always trying to get me clean, always trying to make sure I'm safe. And I didn't really want to talk to my mom because every time I talked to her, like it felt kind of like a guilt trip, like she wanted me to come home and she's crying and I didn't want to hurt her feelings. So I shied away from that conversation altogether. And like throughout getting sober, my mom was there for me. She took me to NA meetings. We did 90 and 90. She's hasn't never struggled with addiction, but she was definitely by my side through it all. Um, and she ended up moving back to Illinois when my grandmother got sick, and I had my own house and a car in California, so I stayed. So during the relapse, I was alone originally, denying, that I was using. And then once she found out what happened to me when the police called and said, "We have your daughter," she flew out immediately. And after my addiction, like my relationship with my family has been so much better. I enjoy being around them for the most part. With my little brother, it was a little bit different because there were times he was like 12 years old calling me a tweaking ass bitch, and that hurt my heart so much in my addiction, but not enough to stop, like it
Mhm.
just had kind of planted that seed. And I was like, wow, my brother shouldn't really even know what that is at 12. So our
Mhm.
relationship was a little bit harder to mend because I was never the big sister that I should have been all those years. Um,
So did he like react and proud of you that you're sober now, or was he kind of like, of course you need help? Like, how did he react? Because I know that a lot of newly injured suffer with like all of a sudden they're in their addiction, they're fucking over their family or doing all this kind of stuff, and now they need all this help and they're reaching out, and their family's like, wow, great. And it's kind of like a rough situation, and a lot of people end up still being inside of their addiction afterwards, because they don't have that support. So how was that with him?
So with my brother, it was harder to mend. He didn't really like give me too many issues to my face, but it was like the attitude behind it when I asked for help with something, or just like little snarky remarks and things like that that would hurt my feelings and make me sad, and I will remember talking to my mom about it and her explaining to me like, Maya, you hurt him growing up and he's trying to get over that, and it's a whole different dynamic now that you're injured in your home, and it's like things have changed for you immediately, but families still have to go through this whole healing process of what you have put them through. And I'm sure it's traumatic to go through all of that, set boundaries, distance yourself, and then all of a sudden something happens and that family member that you set those boundaries with is completely dependent on you. So it was definitely rough adjusting. But all in all, 3 years later, we're super tight. So to
Yeah,
anybody
that's
out
so
there,
dope.
yeah, to anybody out there, you can get through it, and you just have to kind of understand where each person may be at. Put yourself in their shoes a little bit. And I do understand that thought. Well, it's like my loved one was injured, like I would just forget about it all. But it's easy to think that, and it's not the same to live that.
Yeah, that's great advice. Thank you so much. How about you, Bentley? What was your family dynamic like?
Well, I've always been really, really spectacular at compartmentalizing my life. And so they never really had to be exposed to that side of me. With the exception of my mother and my brother, that's the closest age distance to me. They saw me last year in my alcohol abuse extensively, but I have a very atypical, abnormal, fully functioning, dysfunctional family anyway. And I, even though if that makes sense,
Of
we're all
course. We get it, girl.
neurodivergent, so it's really bizarre. I'm glad y'all get it, but I'm. They've never had to see that side of me. I really am just so good at separating all of the different aspects of my life. I have had an amazing support system within my family, even when I'm a complete shit show. They're not really aware of how terrible I really truly am. And I'm one of those people that just tends to suffer in silence for the most part until I can no longer like suffer without hurting someone else or myself. And I have just been very blessed with an amazing, strong family network, and they have always been here for me, regardless of my struggles with addiction, any of the things I've had to deal with. I've had such a strong tribe, and I'm so blessed to say so.
Oh, that's super amazing. And did they ever have to have a conversation with you or after your injury or be like, hey, like think about slowing down or going to rehab? Or they just kind of always respected your space and you were never like too out of control in front of them?
Well, I distanced myself, and that was kind of the dead giveaway that I wasn't doing well because I have five nieces and nephews, and my family is mostly here, and we're pretty connected and involved. And whenever I'm not around, it's kind of like, okay, she's going off the deep end again. But
Mhm.
it's nothing new for me. My progression and regression is cyclical and has been since I was a child. So it's kind of like, okay, we're going to let her do her thing and she'll get out of it. And I have every single time, but it's it's just one of those things that we've kind of learned how to live through it. I've been up and down for so long, and it's always triggered by trauma. And I've had so
Mhm.
much of it even post injury. I've had five significant deaths in my life, and four of them were overdose related, and one was murder. And I, instead of dealing with all these traumas, just again tried to numb it. And whenever you're trying to not feel anything, you don't feel any of the good things either. And that includes all the stuff that you're doing with your family and your loved ones. So it's just, when I'm really bad, I'm really good at being bad. And
Mhm.
I am really great at separating that aspect of my life. I'm
Mhm.
just so multifaceted. It's easy for me to separate the two.
Yeah, definitely. Well, that's so cool that they are there for you and that you have that tribe behind you, and that you know that you can count on them. That's super, super powerful. I love that. Okay, let's go to Brittany. So, Brittany, you have children. So, how was that for you? And you also have a pretty big family. So, what was that dynamic like for you? And like, needing this help now or feeling so depressed afterwards? And what were those talks like for you and those mending those relationships?
So I'm the oldest out of six kids, and I helped raise four of them. And out of all of my brothers and sisters, I'm the only one in recovery. There's a few that are active users as of now, and then it's my mom, my stepdad, and then everybody else are active alcoholics and addicts. So like I used a lot with my family. I used with my friends, but I used a lot with my family.
Mhm.
So putting like trying to change my people, places, and things was important. But also, like, if I don't work on myself, then it's not going to be, I'm going to bring me with me to anywhere I go. So, as of right now, I'm trying to lead by example. But when I first got injured, I promised my older two children, my son, which was like about 11 at the time, and he has seen me belligerent, and I have ruined birthdays, and I have ruined holidays, and I have been, he saw abusive relationship between me and his father. So, I promised him after my first DUI that mommy would never drink again. Mommy would never do it. And, that was a promise that I broke. And so my son was pretty upset with me. And that was really hard to take because he was allowed to be that mad at me because I promised him something and I almost killed myself again. And so it took a little bit for my oldest to get back into like understanding like mom's okay kind of thing, but they've always been very nervous and very worried for me, and not and children shouldn't have to worry about their parents. But with this disease, I promised myself when I was 12 years old that I would never put my kids through what I went through, seeing the things that I did, growing up the way that I did. But here I am, 15, 16 years later, and I'm doing the same stuff. Now things are really good. Like, they can depend on me. They can see that I'm doing well. They see that I'm healthy. I've got my glow back. And for my other family members that are active, I can't be around them for that very amount long time. And if I am, then I bring somebody in recovery with me, because I never know how things are going to end. And then at the same time, if I want to leave, I leave. So it's a
Having
little
those
touch and
boundaries are
go.
so important.
Emotionally. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot there. It's a lot because my family means everything to me. And because I am an addict and an alcoholic, I need to make sure that I have those boundaries and, be there for if they do decide that they want to do something different. But the family dynamics, I mean, I really had to separate myself for a long time so that I could work on me and be strong enough to go and talk to them. But, I would isolate myself too. I mean, I was drinking every day, and then I'd have other substances on top of it, but I isolated myself because I didn't want them to get mad at me, and then a whole breakout fight happened, because that was the usual: yelling, screaming, hurting each other, like that was the usual. And it's very toxic situation, so I had to put myself out of it and get myself happy and healthy and clean, and then be able to communicate with them, but it's only really on my terms. There's some family
Mhm.
members that I can't even be around, and it hurts, but it is what it is, because it all starts with me and ends with me. So if I let those people affect me and I go pick up, then everything that I've done and all of the people that look up to me or even that depend on me, we're right back at square one. And I don't want to
Mhm.
do that.
Yeah, definitely. Dealing with people that are, especially family members and friends that are still in addiction, I think is so hard to draw those boundaries because you love them, and you want them to know that they can count on you, but at the same time, if it's affecting you daily, you have to draw those boundaries so that they're not codependent on you, And that was really hard from me learning how to do that from a kid, watching them and being taught like you run when there's an emergency, and then being injured and not being able to do that anymore and being like, look, dad, my dad called me from jail and he would call me every single time he got arrested. And I was like, I can't do this with you anymore. Like, it's so hard for me to be able to have to try to think about what you're doing and be able to focus on my mental health and my journey. Like, if you're still getting high, you can't be in my life. I want you there, but and I will help you, but I can't keep on going down the cycle. And that's one of the most painful things to do, is to draw those lines and um, to have to keep on going and with their decision, whether they decide to get sober or not, because there are some family members that decide not to go down that route, So that's definitely hard. And I know that there's a program. I just want to mention called Al Anon for anybody, family members that are suffering with people of addicts, or if you have friends or anything like that, and you feel like you just want somebody to relate to, that's a great program. And they have tons of centers all over the place. So that really helped me a lot, in my 20s, especially. Okay, so let's go. So you guys all kind of mentioned prescription pills. So let's get into prescription pills because that's something that they feed you after an injury and kind of sucks a lot of addicts in, because they already have that addict personality and their injury kind of has nothing to do with it. And now all of a sudden there's these doctors handing them these pills and they kind of have an excuse to take them with their family members as well. So I would love to hear your guys' journey with it, what you guys did to get off them and where you guys are at now. So let's go with Maya. How does prescription pills affect your sobriety and what is your journey with prescription pills?
So as of right now, prescription pills don't really have any effects on my sobriety. I stay away from them. I have some that if I ever need like a pain pill really seriously, I will take, but I hardly ever take them. And I'm so grateful to God for like the will um, to not want to go down that road again. Um, but in the beginning, in the hospital, I was on a lot of IV drugs, and that was the worst for me.
Mm,
I had never used like IV drugs in my addiction, and I didn't really understand the whole IV drug thing until I was in the hospital and I felt that escape immediately. It's not like the 45 minutes that you wait for a pill or it doesn't take like any time to kick in. It was almost immediate. So I got to the point where I had to reiterate to my doctor, like, hey, I am a recovering addict and I'm like struggling with this.
mm-hmm,
And that has actually hindered me in some ways. Prescription pills have their pros and cons because some doctors want to shove them down your throat, and then some doctors, it doesn't matter how much pain you're in. Um, if they see that you're an addict in your file, they don't want to prescribe anything to you. So that's when I've had issues self medicating with alcohol because I can't sleep at night or because my pain is so bad that I'm just going to drink some tequila instead, and I found myself like drinking every day for like 30 days. And again, I am grateful to God for that will that I was like, hey, you know what? I'm observing that this is a problem and I need to knock it off. Um,
mm-hmm,
so, I mean, again, to just like reiterate the question, um, I haven't really struggled too bad with
mm-hmm,
prescription pills outside, but it's just the lack of understanding that the doctors have when it comes to people that have addictions is really concerning. Um, because they should just understand, um, well, I shouldn't say they should just understand because, there are people that laugh about it too.
mm-hmm.
It's a very hard thing to navigate. And I just wish there was like more education around the topic of prescription pills
Mm-hmm.
and disability.
Yeah, definitely. So already in the hospital, you knew from the jump, like when you found out that you were paralyzed, that you wanted to be sober.
Yeah, I was immediately grateful, because I laid on the stairs, like
Mm-hmm.
just praying for my family because I just knew I wasn't good enough to save, So when I woke
Mm-hmm.
up, I
Mm-hmm.
was just immediately grateful and I wanted to change my whole life.
Yeah, definitely. I feel you. Okay, let's go to Bentley. So, how does prescription pills affect your sobriety? You touched on it a little bit, but what's your journey with it?
Well, I've honestly not ever had a problem with pills per se. I honestly don't even really like pills. I again was a recreational user. I preferred uppers with my alcohol usage as well. There was a lot of cocaine and things like that. But after my injury, I had so many prescriptions. There was a time that I was taking 40 to 50 pills a day. And like Maya was saying, I had IV line that took the drugs immediately, and they took me off and weaned me off. I'm the one that threw a fit about getting rid of the IV drugs because it was an instant gratification, and I didn't want to have to wait 45 minutes to an hour for my pills to kick in. And so I was upset about that, but it also doesn't hinder my sobriety because when I was on my prescription pills, I didn't drink. So it's kind of a conundrum, truly. And I don't understand really what it was that gave me the power to quit, but I took a year and a half and slowly weaned myself off of prescriptions. I wasn't living, I was just existing, and I got tired of that. And once I got off of my prescription pills is whenever I actually moved out and re-entered the world. And like, you know, the trauma from my friend's death just spiraled my alcoholism. And I had never dealt with my actual addictions until I was 30 years old. Everything I had done, it was just, you know, for a good time. I'm drawn to chaos, I'm drawn to the fun times and the party. It really didn't turn into full-blown addiction until 2019. So I don't think that prescription pills made it worse at all.
Mhm.
And I really never liked prescription pills, so it wasn't as hard for me to stop. It was my dependency, not my addiction. And I just had
Mhm.
to
Mhm.
slowly wean myself off of my dependency to those substances.
Yeah, because that's what's a hard part. Because those withdrawals, man, that's almost like worse than the pain. Like, it's just
Oh,
like you
much worse, I
feel.
thought.
Yeah, definitely. And like I think that's where a lot of people struggle too, because they like try to get off them. They're like, I tried it, but it's like you need to really like detox for like a good amount, like a week, Those first couple days are hell. Like your body is aching with 10 times the amount more pain. But it does gradually get better, and then you can decide what minimal doses you need and all this stuff. But a lot of times what happens is the doctors start you on the highest dosage, and that's what they did with me. They started me on the highest dosage of like all the things, and then what happens anyways is that your body gets used to it, and so you're like, hello, still in pain, and their option is to up your medicine. So it's like a lose battle, and it's like kind of what Maya said. We wish that they would be more educated in this, but it's hard, it's a struggle. It's, an epidemic, honestly.
Well, and as far as
So,
spinal cord
uh
injuries go, there were, oh, I'm sorry, I was just kidding. As far as spinal cord injuries go, gunshot wounds are the worst pain you can go through, is what I've been told. And that's why we're prescribed those pills at such a high dosage initially, because they are already aware we are in an extra amount of pain and our bodies are recovering in that way. And it's sad that really is one of the only options to get through those gunshot wounds.
Yeah, I was in intense amount of pain, and so they had me on the patch and on morphine, on oxy. They had me on everything, and it just kind of sucks because a couple years later, I realized that my body was still in so much pain, and it was numbing it. It wasn't making anything better. And when I did detox from those pills, I did gain feeling back. I got a lot more feeling back, and I got a lot more movement back, and it was like almost like that medicine was numbing my nerves, numbing my muscles, so much. So yeah, it's a dangerous game, honestly. Okay, so Brittany, what was your journey with prescription pills? Oh, is she frozen? Oh no.
Hmm.
Oh no, Brittany, you're frozen. Can you hear us? I'll message her. Okay, we'll go back because I know that this is more of her drug of choice. So I want to hear her answer, but
Hello.
She's frozen in a
oh,
good position. Mine
oh,
always
I
freezes
know,
back.
I know. Same. I'm always like half, like I'm like, Jesus, bro. She's probably gonna hop back in right now. Um. Okay. So, what is our next one? What advice would you give to? Oh, are you back, Brittany? Okay, great. We want to hear your answer for this
Can you
question.
hear me?
Yes, we can.
Sorry, I don't know what, my internet's funky. So prescription, like I said, I was using them before I was even prescribed them. And then when I got my
Mhm.
injury, the first thing they did was give me prescription drugs. And so I was in heaven and I felt like I was, I didn't need to do much anymore. I wasn't going to spend my money on it. But that just wasn't the case. It was very painful in the beginning, very, very painful. And, I was dependent on them. But then my disease kicked in and it was like, well, you're going to need these for the rest of your life. So you might as well just go ahead and milk it for what it's worth. And I did that. But then I was just so miserable. So I also, I used my muscle relaxers to try and kill myself. And luckily, I had a friend that helped me, that came to my house and saved me. But, even when I went to the doctor and I was trying to stop, the doctor was like, if I was in your situation, I would just have them as a backup, or I would just, she wasn't, and me being a manipulator, I was like, oh, well, my doctor said it was okay. But really, like, me knowing that it's a problem. It takes 5 days to get addicted to a narcotic, like pharmaceutical pills like that, Oxycontin or anything like that. And then there's an actual a show on Hulu called Dope Sick that's about the pharmaceutical industry that pretty much lied to America and lied to us and told us that these things were not going to be addictive, and so many people died and overdosed because they're not they want to hide the fact that once you get hooked on these things, and you have that addict tendency, it could be death. And so a lot of people trust their doctors. And I work in the nursing facilities, and going in and talking to residents and trying to get them to leave. And you want to talk about pharmaceuticals, and they have tons of pharmaceuticals in them, but they're sitting there saying, well, my doctor is okay with it, like I've had my doctor for such and such years. And so they're thinking that if their doctor is telling them it's okay, then they don't need to, they're not an addict, and they're not, but it's when you start abusing it and when your life becomes unmanageable is when, like, you need to really consider whether or not you're using it for pain or whether or not you're using it for your disease. And my disease was just way more than my pain. So I had to stop. And after coming off of them, it's not been very fun. Like I have medications. I do not have narcotics. I don't have anything that changes who I am. Who I am on a regular basis. And that's my choice. That's not for everybody, because I don't know everybody else's pain. I don't know how hard, or how difficult it is for somebody else. I just know for
Oh,
myself.
Bentli, is that I think there's a bird in the background. Can you just mute it while
Well,
she's talking? Or is that
I
what
think
it
it's
is?
gone.
Sorry.
Oh, it's gone.
No,
No, that's
I
okay.
just, oh, where was I at? I don't know. But
Sorry, girl.
okay, not a problem. So just it's up to us on whether or not we choose to use them as a medication or as something to numb the pain mentally. And it's been a journey since not using using those medicines. And I've had to like ask myself, like, wait, what about 10 years from now? What's going to be the case then? But I can't worry about that. What I can do today is, I try and do healthier things. I try and live healthy. And when I'm in pain, I listen to my body. And if I lay down, I need to lay down. There's some things that they'll never go away. This pain for me has been this pain since March 17th of 2018. But it's tolerable, as of now, because I feel like I have a spiritual program to help me with that. I have people that I talk to that deal with these situations on a regular basis that can help me go through these situations. I had a friend, and as well as Maya and and Brianna knows, like when we were in LA, one of my best friend brother, he was an alcoholic, and he was on his motorcycle and crashed, and he lost a leg, and he was in ICU for over a week, and then he passed away. Not all of us get to make it to be able to learn from our mistakes. And I could have used over that, but I didn't. I went and I was with my network, and I was with my family, and it's still hard. Like, it's been about 2 months since he's been gone, but it's a wake up call, because that was me not 3 years, 4 years ago. And so, like, I had to like reevaluate, like, I don't need these prescriptions for me. I can't say for anybody else. I just know for me, I will not use them properly at all, because I like them way too much. And once I get it in me, It is nothing, no going back. It's all on the table, and then I lose all of the things that I've worked so hard for. But there's not
Yeah.
a lot of talk about pharmaceuticals. There's not a lot of talk about the stigma and like the and what it does to your brain chemically, what it eats up at your brain. Like, there's so many things that it does and it controls, and it's not just that substance, it's on a lot of different other substances too. Like if you look at like the scientific parts of this, like it eats your body up. And hopefully if you can recover from these things, then you can kind of get back a sense of reality, but
Hmm.
that's not to say for everybody.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. This is an ugly disease, and that's what it is. It's a disease and it takes control over your body, and it is hard, but it is possible with the program, with a different perspective, with some support to get sober. It seems like impossible, I know, in the beginning, but hopefully these three amazing women stories motivate you a little bit and show you that it, of course, it's hard. You can have bad days. It's not always going to be pain free and easy, and it doesn't mean that trauma is going to stop happening, but that you can get through it. So yeah, let's go through the comments a little bit. A lot of people are writing stuff. Thank you so much, Ben, for the super sticker. We really, really appreciate your $3. Thank you so much. Y'all have been pumping out some good content. Thanks for addressing this. It's a very complex topic. Yes, it is. I think it's not talked about enough. And I think a lot of people feel shame behind their addiction. And I don't think that they should, because I think that it should be a community that bands together, just like any of other, and knows that they can motivate each other to get better one day at a time. Maya, do you have a web page with your story?
So I had a website and I stopped paying for it. So Instagram's the best thing.
Love it. Yes, you can find all our stories on Instagram. um, Jay, with addictive personality, addiction stem from dependencies. And marijuana saves lives. It took me from over 100 milligram oxy to 50 milligram cold turkey. Been clean for 16 months. My downfall is illegal stay. Oh, congratulations on your 6 months being sober. That's so amazing. Keep going. Take it one day at a time. Thank you for joining us. Yeah, it's definitely hard to cut off cold turkey or to minimize. I say that it's kind of dangerous to cut with prescription pills cold turkey. So minimizing it best and like coming up with a program, I think is like a smart plan. Only because those withdrawals, man, are crazy. Relaxed and living. Think about intent and honesty with yourself. If you're sick, you take a pill, drink some NyQuil, whatever. But if you do it to get high, it's a different story, and it can be a slippery slope. Yes, this is so true. Um, that's something to definitely ground yourself and tell yourself. When I was in the hospital, I was on a lot of meds too, and I felt like the meds were just numbing my body. And now that I don't take them anymore, I deal with a lot of pain, but gained a lot more feeling. I can definitely relate to that. I prefer overall to have my mind at least like be clear. That's one thing that I can count on, and that's what makes me not want to take them. Some people really like that feeling. They like downers. They like being slumped out. So that's something to be careful about. Um, and Jay said, I resonate with Brittany. Amen to that. I've learned pain is your sixth sense and your body's way of communicating to your higher self. I don't want to numb the remaining senses I do have. Yeah, it's all about telling yourself those little things, whatever works for you. Everybody's different, I feel like. And, certain things don't work for everybody. That's kind of like anything, but it works if you work it. I say keep on trying to find, your way and what helps you from spiraling out of control. I would definitely say that. Okay. See, we're already to 4, so we're going to try to go through these last two a little bit more quicker, but I think they're so important. So what advice would you give yourself those first 30 days of sobriety? So those first 30 days, I'm sure you guys can think back and think about what you guys were going through and the mindset and the doubt that you were battling back and forth of how to do this. So, what would you say to yourself, Maya, those first 30 days of sobriety?
Um, so this is a little bit of a tough one for me because I jumped right into changing my life completely, and being like so grateful immediately. But I definitely would have a talk with myself about the dependency that I had in the beginning with the IV drugs. Um, and I would just tell myself that like it's okay to take them because of the injury that you have right now and to lose the guilt from that, but just to also keep it under control, because I wasn't thinking about it like affecting my addiction or affecting me in my future with my spinal cord injury at the moment. Like I was just like, oh yeah, it's just for the pain when, sometimes when I was asking for it, I wasn't even in pain in that moment. It was just time for the next dosage. That 4 hours passed and I was able to get it again. So all of a sudden, my mind tells me, oh, I'm in pain, I need it. And that was like not true. So I would just tell myself to keep an eye on those type of things and just to really lean in and get closer to God earlier, and have more of a relationship with Him earlier on, like an actual
Yeah,
relationship.
I love that. I love that so much. How about you, Bentley?
Well, you know, I'm ironically, I had only intended on being sober for 30 days. That's, and here I am at almost a year. I thought I needed a break, and I needed a lot more than that. And if I could have gone back, I would have told myself to be a lot kinder to myself, a lot more patient. And I also would have tried to identify my triggers a lot quicker and tried to understand what it was that I was using for instead of just concerning myself with using. I would have tried to understand why I had been the way I had been and why I chose to use unhealthy coping mechanisms as opposed to something healthy. And that's really, I would have had myself reevaluate things a little differently. And I also would have not had my focus on just finishing for 30 days. I listened to my body and I knew that I needed to keep going. And that's the most important thing is listening to yourself and understanding that your body will tell you what you need.
I love that. That's so powerful. How about you, Brittany?
Um, I would tell myself, it was a lot of that guilt and shame that was in that first, I mean, even 6 months for me. But it's like, there's little cliches that we say, but it's that don't leave 5 minutes before the miracle. Like, give yourself a chance. Be open when you are upset, and like don't hold that in. Closed mouths don't get fed. Speak up when you're hurting, speak up when you have feelings or there's things or situations that make you want to pick up, over whatever the case may be. And being, staying in the middle of people that are dealing with it, this addiction, but maybe have a little bit more time, um, of being clean and sober to where you can learn from them. And luckily I've been on that same path, and me saying this now to 30 days, back 30 days or on the 30 days, I need to tell myself
Mm-hmm.
today just as much,
Mm-hmm.
because every day is a new day and we do have a choice to pick up over everything and anything, but it is our choice. And if we just pump our brakes and, stop for a minute, we don't have to go that route. Believing in a higher power has definitely been a big thing for me because, I needed that little bit of oomph too. That little bit of
Mm-hmm.
like, what do I need to do, and listening and being willing to, not be in control of situations, because I get in control and things are not very pretty. They never end
Mm-hmm.
up the right way at all. So yeah. think those are what I would
Yeah,
say.
I love that so much. And I just want to say that God is there for you. I know a lot of people struggle with their faith and struggle with finding God after getting out of their addiction and being like, well, I did all this horrible stuff. Like, how is God going to love me now? And fighting with that. But I feel like, when you admit your wrongs and you're changing, like, God also sees that as well. He knows your story. He's there for you, and rely on your faith that that's something that helps get you through. Reach out and maybe ask Brittany or ask any of these girls, what was their journey like with that, and just know that it's never too late. It's never too late. Like, it's never like you don't have this relationship with him your whole life. It does not mean that you can't have a relationship with him today or return to him. I just want to say that. So let's see. What would you say to someone who feels like sobriety is impossible after injury? So a lot of times, we get those people that are in their addiction and they're feeling it, and they just feel like, wow, this is horrible. Life freaking sucks. What else am I going to do? How am I going to live with this pain? Is this possible? I'm dealing with all the, not only do I have to deal with all the things I did with my family, all the things I missed, all the stuff they have to deal with, all their traumas from even before their injury, and it seems overwhelming and impossible to do. And I just want to talk to those people right now, those newly injured people. So Mila, my words are all mixed up today. So sorry. I'm messing up all your guys' names. We're changing names today. Maya, what would you say?
So for me, I would explain my story and um, illustrate where I was at in my addiction, deep in my addiction before I got injured, and illustrate how happy and joyful I am today. And I know it's not always as easy for everyone. Everyone is different, all of our circumstances are different. But I would also show so many other amazing women who have, men and women, who have dealt with addiction prior to injury and after injury, and just show them that there is another way. Offer to go to meetings. That was a huge help for me when I was getting clean, was people going to meetings with me and taking me to meetings and inviting me, to get a coffee or to just chat and be there for me. I would meet the person where they are, and just try to be there for them as much as I can, because there is life after addiction and after spinal cord injury. And even though we're not numbing ourselves with drugs anymore, there's still so much joy and so much beauty in life. Um, because numbing ourselves was temporary joy. That's just a band aid that we're putting over our real issues. And there's real healing through change.
I love that. I'm getting so many chills. I feel like this conversation is so powerful. I love it. Okay, let's go to Bentley.
Well, the most important thing for me to address to newly well, individuals that are just starting their sobriety is that mindset is everything. If you have to go in this knowing that you want to change, and um, y'all also understand as fellow addicts, it does not matter what external forces are sent your way until you are truly ready to stop and to grow on your own terms. You're not going to. And as y'all mentioned, programs and things, those are great and are wonderful. But me personally, I didn't resonate well with programs, and I had to search high and low other alternatives. And I really immersed myself in trying things that I would have normally just completely avoided. I really got into art and pursued things that made me feel joy. And whenever something negative happens to you, whether it's just like a bad day, the negative things stick with you for 2 days. And if you find small joys, that last with you for five. And continuing to reach out and pursue things that truly make you feel happy will help you on your journey to sobriety. When you find things that give you joy and give you a purpose, that gives you a lot more drive to pursue your sobriety and live and feel and love fully.
Love it, love it, love it, love it. Okay. Jay said, I just have to say, through all the struggles, we're still beautiful, no matter the scars unseen. Love it. Okay, let's go to Brittany. What would your last advice be, love?
Um, like, Bentley said something that is definitely really important, and it's what gets me sober might get you drunk, or what gets me clean might get you high. It's so different for everybody else. I can't knock anybody else's recovery, point blank, period. It's all on your choice. If you want to change it, you can. And it is that mindset. The negativity definitely overpowers. The devil is a lie, like that. The thing is that, if I would have known what I know now, like, I would have been on that, sobriety wagon a long time ago, because I love art, and I love, like, I have a lot of passions and advocacy roles. Like, I didn't get any of that until I got honest with who I was and who I am, and like why I did the things I did. Like, you have to get honest with who you are and what you've done in your past, and then put the bat down, because a lot of it's the guilt and shame, a lot of it's the trauma, a lot of it's just trying to block out all the pain. But we have to feel those things. We are human. We have to go through these emotions. We have to figure out a healthy outlet besides using substances, no matter what they are. It could be drugs, it could be shopping, it could be sex, it could be gambling. It does not matter. If you're an addict, you will find your way into something else. For me, that's what I've seen, that's what I've experienced. So, give yourself a chance. Like, you deserve it. Like, you could not tell me that I was going to be wearing a crown and sash, and then going to drop, going on a plane to LA with the Rolettes, and like being this person in my community. Like, I thought I was this white trash, 3 kids, 2 baby daddy, like, no, nothing space, like, waste of space. But that's not the case. Like, I am doing something so much more powerful, and it was because I got honest, because I wanted something different, and because I knew that I could do it. Like, even when I didn't know, people were like, Brittany, you're strong. Brittany, you're strong. And like, it took me a very long time for me to accept, you're damn right I'm strong. Like, this only happens to select few. Like, there's the select few that gets this, that can do something about it and use their voice for better. And like, your story is your most important vice. Your testimony is your overall test of life, and it can always help somebody. You don't know who you have touched unless you open up your mouth and you just get honest with who you are. But knowing that there's going to be some rough patches, there's going to be some things that are going to test that situation,
Mm-hmm.
but being involved with a group of people that can understand your pain, that people have gone through and experienced, like, and being open minded to maybe doing something
Mm-hmm.
a little different, even if you don't like it. Those things, those were the big things for
Yeah.
me. And I hope, if there is anybody watching, or anybody does see this, like, you are so worth it. You are so worth it. And if you just give yourself a chance, put the bat down and speak up, be honest about it, you can go a long way. I know if
Yes,
I can
love
get
it,
clean,
love
you can get clean. I know
it.
that I I was horrible.
Yes, so powerful. Base of Spades said, you can't change your past, but you can change your future. Yes, I love that so much. And something
Yes.
quickly that you mentioned is about other addictions. Like, it's not just drugs and alcohol that you can be addicted to. And when you have addicted personality, it's very easy to replace that with something else, So just to be cautious with whether it's, like Brittany said, overspending, sex, there's million of gambling, there's so many other things. Food is even something that you could be addicted to, you
Netflix.
know.
I'm terrible.
Netflix, you're so funny. Yes, it's like just being aware of those addictive personalities, and realizing that you can be different, and to reach out, and that there's other people that are going through this as well, and that you are not alone in this world, to take it one day at a time, and Yeah, I love this so much. That's all that we have really for you guys today. I think that just to close it out, I'm going to say the Serenity Prayer because I really love it. And I think that it has helped me in my life so much. And I really feel like so many things within the program and with learning all this different stuff helped me after my injury as well, you know, and helped me to motivate other people. So this is just something that a lot of times after the meetings they say and that I resonate a lot with. So it's God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things that I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Amen. So we love that so much. Thank you, girls, for joining me. And if you guys have any questions, please reach out. I will make sure to leave some lines in the description box later on as well. Thank you for joining us. We are back every single Tuesday with another show. The guys are, and I'm back every other week, every first and third Thursday. So come join us with new topics. If you have anything that you want us to talk about, feel free to message us. We also have some amazing merch that just dropped for the girls. And I think there's some guys' shirts too as well. So we're going to be posting that soon. Make sure to check out our Instagram page and hit us up. Thank you so much for joining us. Have a good day. Bye, guys.